Hey everybody, it's time for BeckerArt. We are in Winona, Minnesota, and so this week we're doing this paddle or the tugboat, and we are have an audience here this today, and we're at the Mississippi Morning Art Studio. Linda, where's Linda? Oh, Linda's up there, and so we're going to show you really quickly who is. We have an audience today, so let me just show you who we have here. So here are the people we got all the way from, we got, and we're going to go up there. See up there, we have Linda, who is the owner of the studio, and over here. So how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14 people. So those are the people watching, and I told them they could ask questions, and you guys can also ask questions as always in the chat, and I will try to read it once in a while. And these guys don't see the chat, and so we're gonna go right to. Let's go right to the, actually, I'm going to talk a little bit first about the beer. I got to talk about the beer. So Linda took me to the Island City Brewery Company here in Winona. And I picked out a couple beers, and I'm going to be drinking the red lager. And so that's what we're going to cheer on today. And so we got to give it a test. Oh, oh. So we're going to be painting with it too. We're going to be painting with it. Look at that terrible pour. So terrible pour, look, you guys. And we're gonna have to wait for that. You put the paper towel here because we're gonna use it for the watercolor. All right. So let me just show you what we're gonna be painting. Let's go to our value study. And so here's our value study. You guys don't see it yet. You see my pour. So the value study is I always make a black and white picture of it. And if you look here, the black and white picture I made it a little bit lighter than it is in the photograph because this photograph is an evening scene. It's not on the Mississippi River, I don't think. I'm not quite sure, but we are on the Mississippi River right here in Winona. And there's a beautiful, I'll have to point it out later, you can see right out the window in the Mississippi River. So this is what we're going to do is an evening shot or a Sunday morning or a nice morning scene. And what I do is this area right here, the boat is going to be the darkest dark against the background, which is also dark, but we're going to leave the background, like in the photo, is not going to be that dark. We're going to make that a little bit lighter in the background. Way back here, this all back here is going to be a lot lighter. And so, how much of it later, guys? Like about a minute? Okay. So the background that you see back there, that's going to be a lot lighter than it is in the photograph. It's very, very dark. You want that to be a lot lighter, so that falls to the background. And look at this beer scattered all over. So we're getting a nice wash there. And is anybody on? Let's see. Hold on, let's see. I wonder if it's on there. They're chatting because I hold on 1 second. I think I may have the chat on that one. I have two windows open. Let me put it up. And I think the chat's on that one. I thought they'd be on both of them. Is anybody there? Chat. All right, so let's go right to the tabletop and we'll get started here. Let me taste the beer first. So cheers, everybody. I'm gonna put a little bit more beer in there. So this is a red lager. And fluff. All foam. Hold on. Oh, that's good. That's about 10. That's a 10 up to 11. 11 is a perfect one. I had a perfect 11 yesterday. Triplet. A triplet from, was it Carmelet? Carmelet. It's a Belgian beer. That was 11. This was a 10 though. Very good. Very good. So cheers, everybody. Cheers out there. Oh, there you guys. You're here. Hey, Karen. Hey, Kathy. Hey, I get my glasses on. It's so far away, guys. I know you're all there, so we'll just get going here. So, what's that? Oh, there they are. Thank you, Tim. I have my glasses on my head. Oh, there you go. Hey, Tom. Hey, Mickey. All right. So now with the paint, when we're going to start, always know from back to front, light to dark. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the background sky. And since the water is the same color as the sky, we are going to go right into from the sky, right into the water. And what we're going to do is I'm going to make an evening scene. And so everything that comes forward in front of the sky will be darker. The land back there will be a lot lighter than the boat. And I'm not gonna, I never really watch the pictures for the colors. I do whatever colors I like to have them. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make the sky more dramatic than it is. It's kind of boring. It's a nice boring sky. I'm gonna make things maybe a little bit more yellow down here, lighter, and then I'm gonna have if you want to do it just like the photograph, that's fine. You can go do that. I'm gonna make it a little bit more yellow. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have some clouds, really some dramatic clouds. All right, so I wet the paper first. I always wet the paper, so we're working wet in the wet. And again, don't worry about the colors. Look for the values. That's more important. The values are much more important than the colors. Colors can be anything you want them to be. If you want a purple sky, put a purple sky in there. I was just talking to the owner here's husband Dale, and he said he saw a purple sky one time, and I forgot where he said he saw it, but every sky happens out there, so you're not gonna be wrong. I've seen all kinds of color skies. And let me put a little something underneath my paint in real quick, so there's a light on the ceiling. It's reflecting on my. There we go. And now we have it on the bottom. Oh well, nothing we can do about that. It's one of those things. So we're gonna go with the yellow first. I'm gonna write down here the yellow. And you notice I go right to the boat. I don't stop at the boat. We're gonna go a little bit higher so you don't see that reflection. I'm gonna go right here with the yellow, right into an orange, right to the orange. And when you use pigment, you want to stop and make a line of some type, you have to use a lot of pigment. And that's why you want to put fresh pigment or like a Holbein paint, which has fresh, it's really fresh right away. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you remember last week, for all you that were here last week, my palette was destroyed. Remember I was saying it was getting really bad? So if you look at my palette, see how it was really bad? It was starting to come apart. So I took all that paint, which is Holbein paint, and now I have a brand new shiny palette, guys. Look at that. Never had that before, been up for a while. And so let's keep on going here. And so as I go up, I can put whatever color I want in there. I'm just gonna take a little bit of, I think on the top, I'm gonna take a little bit of lavender and just put a little bit darker sky up here. If you do a dark sky, somebody even mentioned, hey, Kathy, see, my palette is clear. My palette is never clean. And let me just real quickly, I have to turn my volume down here, I noticed, because I hear myself in this thing, which I'm sorry about that, guys. All right, so here you keep on going, put your nice, beautiful sky in there. Have fun. The thicker the paint, the more you can control the edges. If you want to control your edges, you have to give it a lot of paint. You cannot put a tint of color down and be able to control it in a wet wash. And look at how the yellow is just bleeding downwards. Isn't that great? It looks like it was like a little bit of rain shine or something. Rain shine. Yeah, that's a thing. So we're gonna go through here and just get a little bit more yellow, a little bit thicker. Remember, the thickness of the paint. Oh, by the way, hey everybody, St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I didn't have a Irish beer, but I don't have green on. I just totally forgot about it. But everybody out there has green on, so they're gonna say Happy St. Patrick's Day. Yep, yep. And if you guys have questions or even statements you want to blurt out, that's fine. No problem. This is probably the first, I think I've had live audience before. I used to have, Gary used to listen to me in my own studio. We'd have him come by. when I think about it, it's been, I don't know how many I've done of these already, but it's been a while since we've started these, and one of these days I gotta count how many I've done since we started in the beginning of COVID when we started doing these live. And I, like I was saying in my on the newsletter, not in the newsletter, but on my David our BeckerArt Facebook page group. You guys are getting really good. Some of you are just, I mean, it's amazing what you guys are bringing out there. So have fun with the sky. You know, here I'm putting orange and the purple. If you're using blue for the sky up here, don't put it too close to the yellow because you get a green sky. Though there is a little bit of green in skies when you change from the yellow to the blue. Sometimes there is a little bit of that color in there. But if you don't want a really green sky, watch out for your light blues and your light yellows. So see how you just put in a fun sky. This is nothing like the photograph, but to me that never bothers me because that's the most fun is the sky usually because you can have so much freedom to it. And you can just put so many things in there and you can spray it, let it soak downwards. You can put a little bit of, I'm gonna put a few little clouds in here. And while I'm doing this, at the same time, I'm gonna do the water. I'm gonna do it right through the boat too. And I'm gonna pretend like the boat is not even there. Because if you try to go around it, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna go right up to it, you're gonna have little white speckles all over. And so don't stop at the boat. Just go right through there. And do this wet into wet. Definitely do this wet into wet so that you get nice soft edges. And again, if you guys got questions out there, I will look up every once in a while and see if you got good questions. So just ask away. I do have two windows open for this and two screens, so I'm not sure if there's a chat in this one. Let me just check to make sure, just so that you guys hold on one second. I just want to see if there's a chat going on in that one too that I don't know about. Nope, same chat. So good. Everybody's out partying, everybody's drinking. It's St. Patrick's Day party. So here we go. Now we're gonna do the water. Watch this. With the water, I'm gonna go down here, wet it just like I did the sky, identical to the sky, because basically the sky or the water represents the sky. I did one more thing here. Hold it. One thing more in the sky here. I just kind of put that last wash there. And if your brush is wetter than the surface, watch your brush. If your brush is wetter than the surface, it's going to make watermarks. And take your water container away from your painting so it doesn't drip over it, which I already did right here. So now I'm gonna wet the whole bottom of the picture, which is the water. The Mississippi River right down here. See Mississippi? Look out there. The color is what is above it. And it's very still, so it's like a mirror. This one's not gonna be a mirror. This one is more of a ripples. There's more ripples in this water because it's during, you know, it's not quite this. Actually, the tug is giving me waves too. So we're gonna start with the yellow again, do the background with the yellow. Now there's gonna be a reflection, sometimes there's a reflection of the buildings, but it depends on how far away those buildings are, because if it's ripply, you're not gonna see reflections into the water of the Mississippi here. You're gonna just have the sky color in there. And then it goes down to the orange. So just reverse what you just did, just reverse it. And you're not gonna picture it like a mirror. It's not gonna be the same. You're not gonna see the clouds. You wanna see just those colors. You're just gonna use the colors, the same colors. Picking a little bit of blue, a little purple. Now I am gonna have something white in here, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe it out. I'm not gonna try to get the white hard edges right now. I'm just gonna put either white paint in there. And for those anybody here that hasn't seen my videos, I do use white paint. I use black and white paint, and I use it to enhance the painting. I don't use it to correct mistakes. Like I think that's why teachers didn't want you to use white paint because basically you're just covering up mistakes that you made. I use it to enhance the painting. I use it to maybe make the cloud look really fluffy. So I don't mind having white paint in my paintings. Now, there's a couple of societies out there, watercolor society, that don't want, they're transparent watercolor societies, and they don't want you to use opaque colors. And white is definitely an opaque color. So don't use it for those shows if you're doing a painting for those shows. other than that, go ahead, have fun with it. And so here I'm in Winona the next 3 days, and I'm teaching a class here, and it's a watercolor class. But this video is like what I've been doing every week since COVID started. And so if you want to look back and see all these different paintings that we've done, just go to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can just go back there, and it doesn't cost you anything. Tell your friends, please. The more people that watch, the better it is for me. So just, I love it that when you guys are watching it. And again, you don't have to paint along because I go pretty fast here. So you can keep up. A lot of times most people can't keep up, but you can always stop the video too and then pick it back up later. It won't be live if you do that, but it'll be like it's live for you. You guys got questions in here? Anybody got questions? I love questions. So now I got the sky and the water, and it all depends on how much water, if you want it rippled or not. But like underneath the bridge, I'm gonna put a little bit of there's a bridge back here. Looks like it's a train bridge. And so I'm just gonna put a little shadow underneath there. I'm using lavender. I'm not sure if you noticed, I'm using lavender, which has white in it. So it's an opaque color, but if I'm putting it into a really wet wash, it just becomes a pastel color. So when I'm using pastel colors, I like pastel colors. So why should watercolors? My teachers always said, don't ever use white, don't ever use white. But if you want a pastel color, you need white. So, and you don't have to buy the color. Like you don't have to buy a pink, you don't have to buy a lavender. You just take the purple, put white in it, you got a lavender. You put white into red and you got a pink. So it's good to have white, and you use it again for your advantage to make it a color that you want to make. And then I'm gonna take a little bit more blue. On the bottom, I'm just gonna put a little bit more darker down here than the sky. A lot of times the water ends up being a little bit darker than the sky because depending on how clean your water is, it'll show through the water, and the depth of the water then makes it a little bit darker. And you can also do this where you're going back and forth and makes a little bit waves. So I'm kind of making little waves by my brushwork going back and forth like this. And if there's any questions online. Lynn, you're saying that you don't see my YouTube channel on your TV, only on your computer. I'm not sure what that is. Hello, Patty from Buffalo, New York. Hello. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Pam. So here I'm making more waves. See, I'm making waves here. And it's all wet, so it'll all be hard, soft edge waves. There won't be any hard edges in here right now because you wet the whole surface, right? And now I noticed that didn't get as orange as I'd like to have it. I could wait. Don't ever go into something that looks like it's matte and there's no more shine because that is still damp and you're gonna make watermarks. So if you want to make it later on, or I do have my airbrush, I'll go in with my airbrush and spray a little bit of that on there. And I'm not sure many people realize that you can use an airbrush with watercolor, and it's very easy to make a really soft, smooth edge or go over something. And I may show that in a second if I feel that it's not orange enough later. I'll pull out my airbrush and show you how to use that. My car alarm just went up. There we go. Wow, live TV and your car alarm went off. Cheers, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. All right, so that was actually, I was just stalling, so I can have the background buildings drying up, get a little bit drier. Penny asks, are you concerned about your paper being too wet? No, I always want my paper really wet when I'm doing wet and wet, and I want soft edges because I want the soft edges. And so I always want it wet enough that I can use the pigment to stop it from floating too far, but you need it wet so that your pigment floats. If it's just damp, you don't float your pigment, and you're not gonna get that beautiful watercolor wash when it does its own thing. Like this right here, all these things right here, those are soft edges, and I can't paint it to look like that. I have to put them into a wet wash and it happens on its own. So that's a kind of a watercolor wash that you want. Now here, I spattered the water from the water bucket on here, so you're getting watermarks there, but it kind of looks like a cloud, so I'm gonna leave it. Now, if I wanted to fix that, I can't just go in there and just replace that area. I have to do the whole sky again, so that you don't stop. I can want to use one of these misters that we've been using now, because it's a continuous sprayer and it continuously sprays, and it puts a really fine mist. And so if you want to have just a little bit of a tint on there, you can do that. So it's not so much floating, and you just put a little bit of color in there and it'll go away. So I can do that. I'll show you later. When this is dry, I'll put a little mist over it and then I can rub it away. And I finally, you can't really do it when you want this big spray bottle because it puts too much water down. But this is a mister, and so just puts a little bit mist on there. All right, so let's go to the background now. A little smaller brush. And the background, it depends on how detailed you want it, but you do not want the same value as the boat. Because if you make it the same value and color as the boat, it will look like it's in the same plane. So you want it, or it does overlap, so that's one way of showing it. But the next way is just to make that lot less contrasty. So not as dark and not the same color. I don't want the same color as in here. And also where the sun is the brightest, that's, you can make it like a little bit of a halo right there of like an orange. So it looks like it's burning through there. Optical scatter is what Carl Bretsky taught me. I took a workshop from him in Grand Marais last year, and he said that he calls it optical scatter. So that's where the sun is, and it turns everything orange right there. I'm gonna start out with an orange, go right to the front boat. Don't worry about this boat in front because they've got windows. And so if I go right through the boat, that way it looks like you're looking through the window. I'm starting out with orange, and then I'm gonna go a little bit. It's almost beginning like the sky colors because it's aerial perspective. It's taking the color of the sky and bleeding it into those buildings. So I'm gonna put a little bit of orange again, maybe a little bit of lavender or lilac, which are pastel colors. But that's too bright, and then I should gray it down a little bit. So I'll take a little bit of its complement. Complement of purple is what? Yellow. So you take a little bit of yellowish, yellow like yellow ochre, browns, and then you can tone down your purple. And so I'm going to make like little rooftops and make it even less and less. And again, right around here by the boat, I can make it more orange. And as it goes away from the sun, let's say the sun is right here, which there is no really sun, you don't see sun, but it's the brightest right here. Then make that brighter, and then as it goes away from it, it gets darker. And I'm not putting too much detail into this because I'm just gonna, I'll wait for it to dry and maybe I can put a little bit of other darker texture in there to make it look like maybe there's windows and buildings but nothing that is too defined. And it is wet, so it keeps soft edge, and that's good. I will make the reflections that in the picture, there's some reflections in the water. Don't do those now. Do those after it's dry, and then you can go down there and put a little bit of that in there. Again, over here, we'll go with orange first. We'll start with orange, get darker as you go along. Put nice tops on there, like little antennas. I mean, what's on top of buildings? Just think about what's on top of buildings or the structure itself. Here's a dome of some type, maybe a church, maybe a steeple, and there's all the people. And then we got, what else we got here? What do we got? Let's look down by the Winona and see what we got there. So can't see it quite from here, but I'm gonna go here this way, and there's a bridge there. So let's look at the photograph. Look at the photograph, the bridge. You really don't see the stuff behind the bridge, so I'm gonna make that really light behind the bridge. Are you guys keeping up online? Let's see. Are you concerned about? Okay, let's see. My airbrush broke. Do you have other recommendations? Which airbrush did you get? Did you get the metal one? Or did you get the one with the hose? Karen, this one has a metal top on it, so you saw I had 5 of them I bought for the classes, and they all broke because this part of the screw-on part that was not metal, and so it just broke off when I put them all in my bag. They all broke, so it was 5 different airbrushes that no longer are available. But this is all metal, so look for an all metal one, and where the airbrush hits the top of the thing, that's where it has to be metal. Don't get any plastic stuff. It breaks. So maybe Karen had a plastic one. I do like these because it's portable and there's no wires, there's nothing. It's just the air compressor is right into the thing, and you just press the button and you put your paint on top here. And so it all works really nicely, and this one's probably dirty from the last time. I can't even open it. Let's see, we gotta open it here. Hold on, it's good. I guess I should have washed this out. And that's not coming. Was that the airbrush? I have another airbrush we can put in there, maybe. Nope, it's an airbrush. Oh, well, we'll worry about that later. All right, so let's get the background here. So we're running background. I'm watching my time. How much time we have here? Here's my mouse. Let's see how much time we have. Not even 7 yet. Oh my God, we slow down. Ask some questions, guys. Oh, the trigger broke on yours. Oh boy. Yeah. Can you send it back through Amazon? Because I bought it on Amazon. If you bought it on Amazon, just send it back. All right, so the background now, I'm just gonna go through here, make it a little bit lighter behind the bridge. The bridge itself is gonna be a little bit darker because it's coming forward. And so there we can go a little bit farther forward. Sure you guys here don't have any questions, guys? You can talk. And then the little tower there or whatever that is on the bridge, I'm not sure if that bridge goes up or something like that because of that.
That's
On the bridge, it's in the bridge. Okay, cool. I just came from Duluth and they have a nice lift bridge. So here we go. I'm gonna put a little bit more antennas, and this time looks a little boring to the tops of the building, so I'm gonna put a little more building tops on here, little chimneys and whatnot. Maybe a little bit of towers, antennas. Just think of what's in the city, you know, and just. And if you look at the picture closer up, maybe you can even see some things that are actually happening in there. Just look up close and put some of that in there. You don't have to put a lot of it in there because you don't, it's not about the background, it's about the boat. And so that's what we're gonna do right now. So we got the sky, the water, and now we're gonna do the boat. So we're into our darks. And the darks create shapes. Anytime you do a dark, it creates the shapes of objects. And so you look for the biggest dark first. And so on this picture, I couldn't tell if there were tires on the side of this tug or if there were like bumpers, type of big bumper type rubber things. But that's when knowing an object helps you out. Like I like drawing boats, and so I've seen both of them. I've seen bumpers, and so I put tires on there. A lot of times they put tires on the side of the tugboats. So just make it up and know what you're painting and know and love what you paint. That's when students ask me, what should I paint? What should I paint? Paint what you know and love because you know about it. And so if there is a problem like that, you're not quite sure what is in the photo, you can make it up because you know those type of objects that you're painting. And also love it. Love it what you're painting because nothing's more worse if you're painting something you don't want to even paint. So if you like a subject matter, paint it. If you love the subject matter, paint it. And though for my workshops here every week, you have to paint it. So if you like it or not. So that's a definite. You have to paint it no matter what, but it's an assignment. And so in classes, you just gotta paint what the teacher tells you. When you're out in your studio, you paint whatever you want and love. And so now we're gonna do the lightest parts of the dark. So middle tones and dark is what's going in first. Not the darkest dark, because we gotta get the middle tones. So what color should this boat be? This boat looks like it's a red. The top is red. Looks like the top is red, and then the bow or the whole boat itself is black. Looks like you can make it all red or maybe even burgundy. I think I'm gonna put gray in the bottom first, like grays and darks, a little violets. And I do use black. And to make me a black colorful, I first put down black and I put color into the wash. There's nothing wrong with black if you start out with black and then put color into it. Like to darken a color, there's no problem if I'm gonna take this crimson color. I'm gonna use that for the shape of the boat or for the top part here, and then I put black into it, and that'll darken my crimson. And it's not gonna make it any less vibrant, it'll just make it dark. I'll just make it dark where I want it. I want it to be dark, so don't be afraid of just using black. I know a lot of people don't have black or white on their palette, but get yourself a tube of titanium white, and I use peach black because it's like warmer black. You can use ivory black. They're all good. So don't be afraid of getting it. You can put white into colors to make them pastel, and you can use the black to make your colors darker. We've been brainwashed when we were in school to not do that. And so I was brainwashed that I never used black or white. Now there are three lights on this boat. And so what I'm going to do is watch this. I'm going to put it down first with the red and put the boat first and not worry about the lights. And then I'm going to take, when it gets to a little bit of dampness, I'm going to pull it out with my brush and then put a little bit of white in there and yellow and just let it bleed into a wet wash. But I'm not worrying about it now because it'd be too hard to paint around those. It's such a small thing. I'm just getting the basic color of the shapes of the boat. Now there's an M, and so for that, there's an M on the tug itself where the exhaust comes out. So what I'm gonna do there is I'm gonna paint around the M. I mean, I don't want to. Could mask white. I could mask off that area with mask white, but that would take too long. And you know me, I just go around it. And if you want to put your initial there instead of M, that's good. Do it. You use that as your signature.
Excuse me,
It's
I think your camera might have frozen.
froze.
Sort of seeing any. Oh, no, I just saw something.
Is it going?
You're doing some very small details. Can you push play on it? Oh.
Oh, it looks like it stopped. Oh, now you're gonna be way behind. Oops. Oh, I wonder why that happened. What did I do? That was bad. Here, let me give you this one. Let's take this one, put this one away. Sorry, guys. 1 second. We're having a little problems here at the studio. Take this one and take it away.
I think it was a tomato.
I'll give you this one. This page is up and you guys got way behind, right? There we go. Now put this one. All I need to do is see the type anyways, what people are asking. All right, back to the painting. So what we're doing is we're doing the darks here. And now we're gonna do the big gray across the bottom. Maybe pretty dark. It's gonna take, I don't like anything to be one color anyway, so you always notice that I will put down one color with a lot of water. And then as I go along, I just make it a little bit lighter than it should be, and then I add color and I add shapes to it as I go along. So I'm wetting it, see I'm wetting it with the color. And it's not gonna be the right value yet, but I need to wet it. And if I wet it with a color, I can see where I'm going and what I'm doing. And then I can just manipulate the wash and the amount of pigment I use to create the shapes of the tires and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm gonna go in with some color. Let's go maybe some dark blue here. And then I'm gonna go around some of these bumpers I have in the front. I have bumpers in the front and tires in the back here a little bit. So I'm gonna put a little bit of color, and also you're gonna color reflecting from the sky, right? There's gonna be a little orange in here. Again, never one color. Once it's wet, throw all kinds of colors in there. If you guys that are here too, if you want to step up to the table and see what I'm doing, I have no problem with that either. If you want to just see, because it's kind of hard to see within time lapse. So then, my picture from. Just now it's getting a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker now, and then I may even wait for the tires to make them black, and so I'm making the tires like a more of a middle tone, and then I'll go in and make the black around the tires, so the tires won't be the black part, it'll be the boat itself will be darker. You can do opposite that too if you'd like, but I like to keep things colorful and you don't have to just to go with one color. Again, here, if you look close and you can't see it close, but there's every color I've used. I've used blue, red, and I put it into the with the black, orange I used in there. And I'll go later on and get more of the actual bumpers and stuff. Now the back inside here is a little bit darker. Again, I start with one color, and then once it's wet, I apply other colors into that wash. I apply colors right into the wash. And we just go in there. And so, I mean, I always start with a color, and then it's like I'm wetting the surface so that I can float other colors in there. And also, I sometimes I take things out. Like I just rub it on my tissue paper, and then rub it out after you get it down there. And so there's a little bit of orange right there reflected from the sky and the boat itself. And that's really thick. I just made it really too thick, so just gonna tap that down a little bit. It's always easier to make things less vibrant, and to make it more vibrant is hard. And there's a little spot with me have to be bird in here. Got a spot up there. And then we're gonna put the darks in there and creating shapes, objects. And you notice I'm working all the big shapes. I'm not working any detail. And where there's some detail that is lighter, I will rub those out later on, or rub out now. If you can rub out a little bit of that's a little bit lighter, make it a soft edge. So I'm just rubbing out parts of the dark that I just put in.
David, did you work on it looks truer to your picture? The colors? You know, some
Yeah,
things,
yeah, yep.
it really looks better.
And now the color of the water is usually first the color, the reflections in the water are usually the color of the water first. So meaning that if the water is blue, make it a dark blue. But since we're so close to the boat right here, just use the same color that you just put down. Just keep it going. And there's usually never like a area unless there's a little bit of rumbling water there. So you see a little bit of a line here and there, but usually you don't see much of anything there. And so it's like the boat's there, but if the water's churned, the top of the wave is white, and so that's where you're going to see the white part. And then in the front here, they'll be pushing the water, so you get a little bit of dark there. And now the reflection, I'm just going to go in there with the color of the boat, and just kind of go and almost like you're drawing it in reverse, you know, or upside down, because you're just drawing the shape of the boat. And since there's a lot of moving water back here, I'm going to just make the lines go off the back of the boat. How wet is your paper for a wet wash? I don't get the same softening movement of pigment that you get. So I make it really wet. I mean, I have to have it wet enough so that the pigment is floating. That's my whole thing is in floating your pigment. You have to make it wet enough so that if you put a piece of pigment into the water, it is actually literally floating on the paper. And so if it's not floating, that's not enough water. So just as soon as you put your paint down there, and how to control the wash then is the amount of pigment you use. So it's all about the amount of pigment you use and how much water is down there. To control it, you just need more pigment. And also these reflections, I do like little long Z's. And then over here, there's this thing, I'm gonna use a little bit of the red that's in there, but not so much red because it's not going to be so much red down there. It's going to be more of the paper. And now there is reflections in the picture. There's light reflections when I put those lights in there. Remember I said when I put the lights in there, I'm going to wipe them out. I'm not going to sit there and go around them now. I'm just going to rub them out of the paper. You also can do that with masking fluid put on there, but that usually gives you too hard an edge. And I just rather wipe it out and then come back later and you get a nice soft smooth edge. And so here, you're going to get the front of the boat. And then I'm going to leave a couple little of these where it goes back in light. And so you see a couple little lines going back. And now that's wet, remember what I do? I put other colors in there. I just don't use one color ever. I never use one color. I go in there and pick up all the other colors I've been using and I throw them in there. Throw them in there, let them float, let them float. Floating your pigment, that's how come everything everything, my website, everything has float your pigment on it. Now I'm making a little lavender, so it's a little bit lighter, the reflections down here. They're closer to me and they're just getting a little bit lighter. And you notice they're the same shape as the boat. Don't go beyond the boat. Don't go beyond the front because it doesn't bend. The reflection doesn't bend. It just stays there. It goes the same as the top part. Now, if there's like rippled water here, yes, you'll have more of these little lines because it's more wavy. So you can do that, and you can bring some of this out here because it's the dark of the wave. It's not a reflection, it's the dark of the wave. So you definitely can do that. You can make a dark wave. Like see, I'm making it now, I'm making these little waves coming to the part, but they're not reflections. They're this dark side of a wave. So they're not quite as dark as the reflection, but they are darker. Let me go back in here. And now this whole centerpiece right here is a lot darker. And I'm gonna go up there and make it a little darker in there. And make some of these parts a little bit darker so that when I put the lights on, it'll be a little bit darker. The lines, I'm doing a little bit of detail. And also in the drawing and everything, he's got his antenna down because he probably just went under the bridge. So I put his antenna back up so that it sticks up upwards instead of, it looked like, like it was broken the way I had it. So I just put it back up for him. And it's here again, don't worry about the reflection of light. I'm going to show you how to wipe that out. How much time do I have to show you that? Oh, we still got 20 minutes. We got plenty of time. So ask some questions, guys. Enter here. Here's a little flag. I'm gonna put a little flag in the reflection. See, there's a little flag in there. If you want, if you're really tight and you want to make it look exactly like the photo, go ahead. You can try to make it just like that. But it's going to take you longer to try to make it exactly like you see it there. And unless you're going really slow, you can do that and make it hyperrealism. But that's harder. It's very hard to do that because you have to be really right on with everything with your drawing. Your drawing has to be perfect. And here my drawing doesn't have to be perfect because I can just do whatever I want with the reflections. And also, once in a while, when you're painting, and I don't do this now because I get it done really fast, but get back from your painting, step away from it for a little bit, and then look at it again from a distance and not so close up, or put it on your screen, take a picture of it and look at it on your screen because it sharpens things up and it'll look more detailed. And you'll see what's right or wrong in your drawing or things that are happening on there. So now I got my big darks done, right? All the big darks are done. Now I'm gonna go in and get all my small details, and then we'll be all done. Oh, let's start with the bridge back here. So the bridge is gonna be detailed dark, and so I'm gonna put the anchor here of the bridge. A little wall back there, and it goes across. And I'm gonna make it a little bit more lavender, so it's not quite as dark as the boat. I don't want it the same value as the boat because then it's gonna compete with the boat. And then right here is the big, where the lift part of the bridge goes up. I'm gonna put that's with the anchor into the water. And again, there is a reflection in it, but I'm gonna put those in there later. I'm not gonna put the reflection in right now, and I'm put it in as a tint and not so much as a wash. And in my one newsletter, I talked about tints and washes. Tint is just a lot of water with a little bit of pigment. A wash is a lot of pigment and a lot of water. So I'm just putting, and this can be detailed back there. That's okay because it's like my secondary interest. This bridge is the secondary interest. So I don't have to make it so perfect, but I can, and I don't have to make it really true to what it is. I can leave it a little bit not so detailed because it is a secondary interest. And I don't want it more important than the boat. But it's always good to have a secondary interest for your eye to go over second. After the boat, then it goes over here. I'm using my rigger brush to draw those thin lines because it holds a lot of paint and a lot of water, so it lasts and you can do a lot of lines without having to fill up more paint each time. And it's one brush stroke, one brush stroke, one brush stroke, one brush stroke. Get the lines done now, right away. No time to waste. I have no idea what's up here. I'm going to put more of a little lines up there, like up there, but it's just gears probably up there for lifting the bridge. Now I did make this all just one color purple, and so I'm gonna put a little bit of other color in there, just so again, a little orange on top of that purple. So that you not only have one color, because I'm really against just using one color. Until I think in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be doing the one color study, the 2 color study. But each week we add a color until we get the full color. So that's for a month, we'll be doing one color, then next week we do 2 color. Following week we do 3 colors, then we do full color. And so we don't do the same painting, but we just, we did that already once before, and that was fun, and I think it's really helpful, so we're gonna do it again. It's a new year, we did that last year, so we can do it again for those that had never done it before. A little shadow down there, and now the reflection, watch this, I'm gonna use a lot of water for the reflection, not that much, paint. And I'm just gonna scribble, I'm gonna be like scribbling. Look at that, and like I'm shaking, if you have the shakes, this is one good time for you. Here, you just go like that. And so here I'm just putting a little reflection into the water. You can now do this also for the background stuff. Like here's a little bit of a dome. I'll put that in there. The tree, here's a thing. You just follow what's on above there and just reflect it down into the water. And then also there should be dark waves back here. So I'm just going to take the same value, make a couple of waves back there. I'm doing that too. I'm getting my background done before I do my details in my foreground because then I can go over that. So here that's going to be orangey because that's supposed to be the sun. Here's orangey, so the reflection is more orange. And over here's more purple. And here we have a bunch of buildings. Here's something there. And you can break it up because there will still be like little waves that break up the reflections. So you have to make it perfect like what's above it. And I was always told never to make it like a mirror image anyways, because that's not a good thing to do in your painting, making a mirror image. I'm not sure what this is today. Right there, I'm not sure what that is. Gonna have to be a bird, seagull. They have seagulls here and on the Mississippi, they have seagulls? All right. So we're gonna go here now, put the boxes. Happy St. Patrick's Day, we got it on our cheer. It's still a 10. Still a 10, good. Well, that's really good. Red, what was it, red number? Red lager, it's a red lager. Oh, we got fancy today. Now I put the railing on, and where the railing turns light and white, I could have put masking fluid there. Instead, I'm just gonna use white paint. I'm gonna be really break the law, the watercolor law. I think it's white paint on your painting, but I will.
Connected to the whole, yes.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes, yesterday we had a Murphy Stout, and so I guess I had yesterday. All right, so then yeah, I'm just doing my details with all these little things in real dark and the railing and all the little things, and then we're gonna put a flag there, and so I get my red. I just do stripes of red. And put a blue on the side. You don't have to do white because it's just the light part. Use the light part of that. And you get my blue for the stars out here. Here we go. It's always fun to put American flag in your work. It just pops it out very nicely. Ropes on a boat is really cool. Put some ropes in there. I still have to do the wheels too. Almost forgot about this. And so let me show you with white paint and just use, I use titanium for all those that you know that I use titanium. Titanium white because it's an opaque white. Chinese white is not opaque. It's transparent, so it'll just go away. So it doesn't make sense to use white. Then I put a little highlight, little round circles like they're lit up inside here. And where's the railing right here? I'm just gonna put a white railing. Look how easy that is, see? A white railing done. You know, why spend all that time with masking fluid when you just put white paint there? does the same thing. Actually, the tide, it gets a little bit darker because it's transparent, or not transparent, but it's not as thick or whatever. So it gets nice and it just tones it down a little bit. I put a little bit of a line here for the tugboat itself. Anything that you make the tugboat look real, anything to make it just all the little gadgets, and here I'm gonna throw a little rope hanging on the end. See the little rope right there? I turn my paper sideways when I want to do something, a line. I don't like going up and down because it's very natural for me. Writing across is a lot more natural for me like this. So when I start the line, I start it and I go all the way. Oops. You don't like to hear that. That's right away. Let's put little things on there, put a little, and then another little line for an antenna here. And so there we have it. Not just dark. I just use a black and a little bit of blue or a little bit of orange or whatever. Use whatever color you'd like. Windows, little dots. Now the tires. So I'm going to put inside the tires are dark and the side is dark. So the tire itself will be the color that's there. This is called negative painting. So I'm negative painting the wheels into this because the color that's there right now, and if you can see that, you can see that closer. And coloring the wheel around the wheel so that the wheel on the inside of the wheel, the circle is dark. And so I'm just using black for that. I'll show it up there again as soon as I get a better one in here that doesn't be quite dark enough. And I'm gonna make the circle inside the wheel, then the outer edge, and then anywhere the tire is not, and then you're gonna see the boat, and so that's negative painting. Hardest thing for my students to figure out. It's a tough thing because you're working negative, you're painting the object, but you're not really painting, you're painting around the object. And so that's something for beginners that they don't quite understand in the beginning, because it's like you have to know what the color of the item is, and like I did the first wash. And so can you see it now? It's a little bit more detailed where it's reflective. See how it's like right there. See, I went around the circle and I went around the tires. So the tires are the color of the first wash. Of course, you guys are not going to see it in about a minute, right? Give it about a minute and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna do one, and then these other ones are going to be light buoys, like little bumpers on the front of the thing. And again, I'm painting around them, little lines in them. And then bleed off the dark into nothingness. Give it a few little numbers there. And I'm gonna put some ropes on these tires so they're actually hanging there in some way that they can actually hang there. I like painting boats, and I like the different variety of boats that I paint. You know, you can paint tugs. I tried to find a barge, you know, a good barge picture, but I couldn't find a good barge painting like they have here in the Mississippi River. And it's right there. I think all I have left to do is getting my lights shined up. So to rub something out and also the airbrush, let me see if I can open this thing again real quick. I don't have a fire. No, that's not coming open. Let me put it in the water so you can put it in the water for a second. So let's just rub out your reflections. So know where your paintings are or where your lights are going to be. So what I'm going to do is, all right, I got to move it up. Where this light is, and it's right here, there's one light right here. It's going to take, and this paper, stone-edge paper, rubs out really easily. I'm just going to rub and dab with a nice clean paper towel. All right, we got 7 more minutes, so let's go fast here. And we're going to put this one right in here. Just going to rub it out and then dab, rub and dab. Take pure water, nice clean water, and then just rub the light out. Dab it. And see how it's already like lit up a little bit? And you can even use white paint there too. You don't have to paint around that when you can just rub it out. I mean, unless you're using some papers like Arches is pretty porous and it like absorbs a lot of the paints. That's a little bit harder then because it's going into the paper, so you can't quite get the white of the paper. Stonehenge kind of sits on top some of the paint, and it doesn't soak in as much. And then I will put a little bit of yellow around this, around the white. The light bulb is white, and then around it is going to turn yellow right away. And then pure yellow, put it right on there. And then anything below it, like this tire will have a little bit of a light hitting the top of it, that area right there. And down here, don't put white yellow on top of black. Rub it out first, get back down to the white paper first, and then put the yellow on. So here it's going to be about where the boat is, so it's going to start right here. I'm just going to rub it out straight down. And I still have a little bit of white in my brush and see how it's making it even yellow while I'm rubbing out. So there we have the light going through there. And if it's not light enough, you can also use white paint and yellow. I've done that where I've used white paint. And again, this is like using gouache in a way. And I'm just gonna have it hit there like it's just shining. And then this one right here, I'm gonna put white, I'm gonna put pure white right on the middle there, so that's where the lightest light is. We went here in Winona, there's a marina museum, and they have like every famous artist you can possibly think of, anywhere from Van Gogh to Wyeth to who else do they have? They have everybody. And Picasso. I mean, it's amazing. If you ever come to Winona, come see the Marina Museum, and they have some amazing paintings down there. Now, make them a little bit wider, and so I'm just gonna a little yellow and white. I'm just gonna make little dots because it's reflecting in there. It's okay to put dots too, little dots that because dots hit off the water, the top, and makes little sparkles. And then back here, right where the sun hits the back of the boat, I'm gonna make a little bit more yellow right there, and then the same thing, bring it down in the water. And then for final thing is the birds. We get 4 minutes. So we're gonna put the little birds in there and a couple more ropes. I like to hold on ropes and birds. I do that all with my regular brush. And I'm not gonna be getting into the airbrush because that's not coming off. I can tell right now. So we're gonna take a little bit of white first and put some ropes in here again. A little white. And so we're gonna wrap a little rope around some of these tires, little lines. You put little highlights of things on there. Here, I'm gonna throw another rope down here. I'm gonna put a little bit of what else do we do? And the birds. The birds now, usually around water, there's always birds anyway. So I'm gonna take my little fleck up here and just start making the little wings. M's, you do some M's and some V's and some. They're just basically dots, and they're little dots here and there. Some a little bit darker. The closer ones are a little bit bigger. This one's a little bit bigger one. It's not a fishing boat, so I guess they're not following it, but we can pretend. We have artist license, and so you can do whatever you want. And usually in a harbor, there's always seagulls around anyway, so we're putting them in. The thing is, the thing I see most students do when they're doing seagulls, they make them way too big. They're like tarantulous, what do they call those? Pterodactyls. They're like pterodactyls, and they're just coming in there and like, no, not that big. They're not that big, or they're too thick. And this one is kind of too thick because I dropped something in there, but I'll make it closer up. It all depends on your style too. Some people have a very loose style, so they can just do those swatches, those. All right. I think that is it, guys. So let me take the tape off and another one for this week. So next week I will be nowhere. I'll be back home. And the following week I'll be in North Carolina at Canoga Water Media Workshops. That's near Asheville, North Carolina. And so we'll be down there. And then I think the following week the following week I'll be in Florida at Orlando, at Big Expo in Orlando. So we're going to be traveling around quite a bit. So I'm gonna take the tape off. I'm gonna take Any last questions, guys? I wasn't even looking. I signed up for a Linda Kemp workshop based on your recommendation. Yes, Linda Kemp's a great, if you want to learn how to do negative painting, Linda Kemp is the lady to know. She has all her books out on negative paintings. And so we we're talking about negative painting, she'll teach you how to do that. So there you have it, guys. There's the tugboat. And one more thing, I don't have enough red in the water. One more thing. Time is it? 1 minute left. See that? Perfect timing. So we're gonna get the red and the water right here. It's a little bit darker. All right. So there we have it. Until next week, I have no idea what time and so, or what the, obviously gonna be, or what we're gonna be painting. It may be that we start the 1, 2, 3 color studies every week. But until then, guys, we'll see you next week. See you. Bye-bye, guys.